We're about to reach the Siyum. Mitzvah Shem later will do the celebratory event of getting together and completing this beautiful tractate of Moed Katan, the tractate that dealt with the intermediate day of the festival, but very big part of our discussion, especially in the past several days, was about the end of life. What happened, how we handle certain traditions and more. So before we reach the very end, I would like to share with you several reflection in connection to this subject of end of life. First is a story that took place in Israel. Rabbi Lau, the father, who was the former chief rabbi of Israel, chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, he was asked a question by a fellow that came from Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is nowadays is one of those countries that used to be part of the big Russia. It was a fellow that asked his son, old-time Jew from Uzbekistan, asked his son to make sure when he passed to transfer his body to Eretz Israel and bury there. As you remember, we discussed the other day that we are not allowed to open a grave. Only one of the two reasons is transfer the deceased to Eretz Israel. The son somehow did not fulfill that commitment. Later in life, when he reached his 90s, he realized that soon he's going to meet his father in heaven. And he's going to ask him, how come you didn't follow my requests? So he called the Chevra Kadisha, he called the Sacred Society, and there was a fellow by the name of Rabbi Mendel Eckstein, who was the fellow that involved with Chevra Kadisha, and he asked that he provide the expense to go there and to open the grave and with all the documentation and transferring to Israel. So the fellow went there, the Chevra Kadisha fellow, and he opened the grave, and he noticed that the talus looks like brand new talus. A little bit for our understanding. People in Israel do not bury with the talus. In outside in diaspora, many places they do that. They just make sure that one of the corners they take out, so it's not befitting, but they take it. In those days in Europe, even places like Uzbekistan, that usually it's a hot temperature, they have that old minhag to wear that very heavy, I think it's linen, to say, very heavy talit, and that fellow was buried with that talit. So they opened and they noticed, as far as the meat, as far as the body is concerned, very little left, only bone. But the talit was really like a brand new, and was long afterward. So they brought him to Israel and they asked Rabbi Lau. So Rabbi Lau asked the son, the old man, he asked him, can you tell me something about your father? So he said he was just a nice, pious Jew. So he said, can you tell me something in regards to his talit? So he said, yeah, I remember since my childhood. My father was very strict. Whenever he put on a talit in a synagogue, he never talked. The moment he had talit on, nothing. There's no any vanity, only pray to Hashem. No other discussion. So he said, look, Rabbi Lau said, look at this, how the talit protected him. There's nothing much left from his body, but the talit is a protection, and not just that. Rabbi Lau rules, as the chief rabbi, to bury him with the talit, which is the exceptionally different than a usual way. It's another story about the Belzer Rebbe, the Sar Shalom, one of the greatest Hasidic Rebbe. Rabbi Shalom Rokeach was the Belzer Rebbe. It was a fellow, young man that reached his bar mitzvah age. So he went to the Rebbe and he said he wanted to get the blessing, get the bracha. So the Rebbe said, you have to accept upon yourself something. So the boy said, I'm accepting upon myself that I will not talk while I'm wearing tefillin. While I'm done tefillin, I do not speak any talk, but only praying and study Torah, nothing else. So the Rebbe said, bless him, and was happy. Years passed, and this boy came back, and he said to the Rebbe, I'm about to get married, I want the bracha now. So the Rebbe said, okay, can you accept upon yourself that now you're getting married, so you're going to have talit. So you will not speak while you were having the talit. And the Rebbe added and he said, look, talit has a special protection, especially pious people, they're wearing over the hat. He said it's a famous tale, saying that when a person finishes his lifetime, he appears before the heavenly court and he needs to give an account of his life, and he starts asking questions. Why you didn't study, why you did this, etc., etc. Yet, the Rebbe said, and it was in a way an important Hasidic message, he said, look, if you accept upon yourself you don't speak, and when you're wearing talit, then you go there, you said, I'm sorry, I'm wearing talit, I'm not going to speak. So let you in the Gan Eden. It's a famous saying from the Sar Shalom. So we are 6 lines from the bottom of the page. We just talked yesterday about the burial process, and now we're going to the next step, which is Nichum Avalim, comforting the mourners. Ma Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan tells us, En menachamim rasha'in lomar davar ad sheyiftach avel. The mourners should not open their mouth, meaning they should totally display equanimity. Until, and that's by the way a practical halacha, until the mourner begin the conversation. Because they said in the book of Job, the 2nd chapter, his friends, his buddies, right, they came to give him comfort. Shene'emar, so they sat with him for 7 days. Acharei b'chen patach Iyov et pihu. So basically they kept quiet for a period of time, and then Job is the first one who opened his mouth. Ve'adar, and then it's written in chapter 4, Vayan Eliphaz Temani, one of his friends, respond to him. So it means it wasn't any conversation between Iyov and his friends as long as he was quiet. Only when he initiated, when he started the conversation, then they respond to him. Amar Rabbi Abahu, minayin le'avel shemesev berosh. When you have a group of people, chavura, so the avel should be in the head. Shene'emar, because they said there, evchar darkam, they take a counsel, they ask me a question. Ve'eshev rosh, I sat at the top of those people who are sitting around. Va'eshkon kemelech begdud, I was like the head officer among the team. Ka'asher avelim yenachem, like a person who give a word of consultation, a word of comfort to the mourners. So the Gemara challenged that and said, how do you prove from that the mourners sit on the top? Yenachem acharinei mashma, which means this applied the word comfort menachem to the one who come and comforted others. So it means on the surface the other way around, that people who give a comfort should sit on the top and not the mourner. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Yinachem ktiv, which means there is a word Yenachem and the Yinachem. Yinachem, it's in the correct interpretation of Hebrew, meaning it's like instead of PL, Nif'al. Those who know Hebrew, they know that the way also Tosfot said that, and Rashi go ahead, that it's applied to the mourner itself. Tosfot also referred to Ktubot 69, but it's a little different. Anyway, another source, Mar Zutra Amar Mehacha. It's written in the book of Amos, chapter 6, Vesar Mirzach Sruchim. They said, which means Vesar or Vesaru, which means they Lehit Batel, they annul all these parties of those haunted people, which means people who go crazy with those parties. And he said, Mizrach, meaning the mourner, Naaseh Sar Lesruchim, to those people who give a comfort to it. So that's based on the Gemara in Ktubot 69. They said it's based on two words, Mar Vezach, someone who have a bitter heart, bitter soul because of the lost, and therefore he cannot have the peace in mind at that time, which is the mourner. So therefore he, Vesar, he is like, and compared to others, he sit at the top of that table. Amar Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Lechatán shemeiseh v'rosh. Since we talk about the one who sit at the top, how about the other way? The same as we said at the time of great sorrow, a mourner, and also at the time the Meiri said that a chosen, a groom that is in a great simcha, is a great time of celebration. So we put him at the top, the head of the table. Sheneemar, because they said in Yeshaya, in Isaiah 61, Kechatan yechahen pe'er, the same as a groom that have the glory, which means we compare Kohen to Chatan, a groom to a priest. Ma Kohen barosh, af Chatan barosh, the same way as the Kohen sitting at the head of the table, the same way as a Chatan, as a groom. Ve'kohen gufei menalan, how do you know that Kohen sitting at the head of the table? The Tana de Rabbi Ishmael, we learn in the house of study of Rabbi Ishmael, based on a pasuk, on a line in the book of Leviticus chapter 21. V'kidashto, you should sanctify the Kohen. And then they said, Kadosh yelach, he should be sanctified to you. Which means, we, since the Kohen carries a special sanctity within its own entity of being a Kohen, we give him a great reverence for being a Kohen in anything, not only in a matter of mitzvot, but also in something that is optional, because we want to show that he is above in a sense of kedusha, in sanctity. So they said, lechol davar shebekdusha, anything that involves with sanctity, he is the first. Liftoach rishon, as Rashi tells us, the first aliyah, when we read the Torah, we give the Kohen, and then we call the Levi, and then we call Israel. That's based on the Mishnah in Gittin 59. Also, when you have a crowd, people, regardless if it's an assembly of people in Torah manners or others, Rashi said that we let him first. Ulevarech rishon. When it's come to Birkat HaMazon, the grace of the meal or the zimun, based on Rashi in Horayot 12, we let him do first. We also exempt others by saying Hamotzi lechem min haaretz before the meal, if the head of the house, the Baal Habayit, is not present. The Rema in Orach Chaim Kuf Samech Zayin 167 elaborate to that. Velitol mana yafa rishon. So if you have a situation that the Kohen and Levi, or Kohen and Israel, they need to divide it something between them, so therefore you have to let the Kohen choose his part first. Since we talk about the end of life, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Kasha yetziat neshama min haguf, the moment that the soul departed from the body, it's hard. Ketzipori bifnei aveshet 29. It's like those chavalim, those strings that you're coming toward. For example, those of you who have a boat, especially a sailboat. So what do? You have those strings, Rashi said, that you hold it in order to avoid the string coming out of that of that ring, right? So that's the same idea. When the soul departures from the body, it carries a great pain. Rabbi Tukochinsky, in a book, Gesher HaChaim, Bridge of Life, elaborate on that. There is a lot of Kabbalistic writing in regards to that process. They use number 7 to illustrate the great sorrow, that in the great agony of the process of departure. Rabbi Yochanan Amar kefiturei befi veshet. It's like those strings that come out of this hole. That's the, how do you call it when you put together two boats and you hold them together in the old days? I don't remember the exact word, but it's that's the way they used to do boats in those days. They put those wooden parts together, and that's they attach them.
So more them together.
What?
More them together.
More them together.
Yep.
So that's the idea. For sure, Maharsha said here we speak about regular people past, not the righteous people. But in the book called Michtav Meliyahu for Rabbi Dr, who studied with my late father-in-law, he explained that when a righteous man departed from this world, his death it doesn't involve with sorrow and difficulty, because he understands that it's going to the next level, versus a wicked person that he's so attached to the materialistic world. So he's ambitious, he's all involved with career and money and all kind of material desires, etc. It's very hard for him to depart from all this. As we studied yesterday, for a rich man that get used to all this comfy, and he's in different position, it's almost a dead. So a righteous person that he's so attached, he cleaves all his life, he delved to be part of a spiritual world. So the moment he recognized that the omnipresent, the Almighty, wants to finish his life in this world, he accepted with such a love that decree to take off all this materialistic world. That's the way Yarot Vash explained as well, Rabbi Yonatan Eibishitz. So the Amar Rabbi Levi Bar Chayata Haniftar Min Hamet, meaning that's based on what we study in Brachot 64. People needs to escort the deceased, but then when you have sometimes a situation you're transferring, like for example in the modern days you go from one town or one state or one city, etc., to others, and they continue, so you basically departure. Lo yomar lo lech le shalom ela lech be shalom. So as long as a person is alive and he is under the will of God to do what God asks him, so he used that term, le shalom. But be shalom, soon you see example, haniftar min achai, meaning he's not completed the act of peace. Lo yomar lo lech be shalom, elech lech le shalom. You have to be very careful, because le shalom is giving a peace and success, Maharsha said, when he reached his destination. The Ran said that Be Shalom it's only to one who believe in that. But anyway, Haniftar min hamet lo yomar lo lech le shalom ela lech be shalom. Sheneemar, they said, when Hashem promised Abraham, they said in Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 15, V'ata tavo el avotecha be shalom. God promised Abraham that he will go at peace, be shalom. So it's like promised the good end of life. Then they said, Haniftar min achai, if someone said goodbye to someone, lo yomar lo lech be shalom ela lech le shalom, with lamed. Sharei David shamar leAvshalom, King David, when he said to his son Avshalom before he rebelled against him, that in the second book of Shmuel, Samuel chapter 15, lech be shalom, which means when his son Avshalom told him that he intended to go to Hebron, so even David doesn't know what's going on that time. That was basically the beginning of the journey of Avshalom, of rebelliousness against his father. The end, it happens, we said it many times that we should be careful of what we said. So it happens, halach v'nitla. We all know the story that that Avshalom, when he ride that donkey, that animal, and his long hair tingle with the branches of the trees, and then he was hanging between heaven and earth, they said, and then Yoav, the general of David, came there and he stabbed him. Yitro shamar leMoshe, lech leshalom. When he asked Moshe to give him the approval to leave Midian and return to Egypt, so he said lech leshalom, he used lamed, halach veitzliach. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses was successful, and he became the head of the Jewish people. ואמר רבי לוי, כל היוצא מבית הכנסת לבית המדרש, which means someone who's so pursuing of Torah. He finished davening, he right away go and study in Beit HaMidrash. He doesn't waste time. He understands that life is short and every moment counts. So the moment he's done davening, he'll go right away to study. Right? That's what we try to do on Monday nights, right away to study. So they said, Zocheu mekabel pnei Shechina. He will merited to see the divine providence. Shne'emar, they said in Tehillim, in Psalm 84, Yelchu mechail el chail, the same as we said after Yom Kippur, or right away start building the sukkah, mechail el chail, from one mitzvah to another. That's the same, from davening, from praying to study. Yera'eh el Elokim bet Zion. So meaning, since many people pray together with people who study, so therefore they merited, since all of a person's intent, here he said, is to do what Hashem asked him, he will be successful on all of his way. And one of the idea is to do it together, in a chavrusa, to study together. אמר רב חייא ברש"י, אמר רב, תלמידי חכמים אין להם מנוחה אפילו לעולם הבא. Meaning Tosfot HaRosh and Ran and Mukhe Yosef said, because again in our understanding, the Rambam tells us that tzadikim, what is the joy of Gan Eden? Tzadikim yoshvim ve'atrotehem beroshehem. So tzadikim, the righteous people, come there and study Torah. So meaning the continuation of Amala Torah, of labor of Torah, continue there. So for sure, when they enter to the world to come, those Torah scholars merited to have peace from all the sorrow that they dwell in this world, but they don't have this act of which we call resting in peace, in a sense of completion, because the fact that they are occupied with this business in this world, which is study Torah, teach Torah, etc., that's a continuation of that in the world to come. There is a school of thought that said, again, it's a little high, they said that Talmidei Chachamim, since we study their teaching and we perpetuating their teaching and we basically repeat what they teach and spread the Torah that they taught, therefore there's a book called Heichalot, it's an early Kabbalah book that talks about different levels. So one is called Rakia, one is called Gan Eden. It's a different level of spirituality in the world to come. So it's that mean that they go from stages to stages, which means they go higher and higher. It's in a way like a reward for what they do. And the last line will complete Imit Hashem at the big celebration of Siyum. You all are welcome to attend. Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 167. When many people get together, sit together to eat, the greatest person there should recite the blessing over the bread and cut it. So if a groom is present and it's the day of his wedding, then he should cut the bread. The Magen Avraham said, even if there is a greatest person there, that's the idea of Beit Yosef. If the Magen Avraham said that if everyone is of equal status, there is if he's a Kohen, he's a priest there present, there is a mitzvah for him to do first. However, if the Kohen is a ignoramus and there is a Torah scholar present, then the Torah scholar cuts the bread first. If the Kohen is also a Torah scholar, he should be first, even if the greatest scholar present but this is not required, the Rama said. It's a mitzvah to first present the Kohen, who is a Torah scholar, with any honor related to a mitzvah. However, he may pass the honor to someone else in his place. Now, we talk about the end of life. So the Rambam, Hilchot Avel, chapter 4, said, based on the verse in Genesis 15, and you should go to your fathers in peace, those who have accompanied the deceased say after the burial, go in peace. Haniftar min achai, that's Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 110. One should not say to his friend, go in peace. Rather, he should say, go to peace. Leshalom. מבית הכנסת לבית המדרש. That's Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim 155. After leaving the synagogue, one should go to the study hall and set aside time to study. He must establish a regular time to study so that you will not skip it, even if an opportunity arises during the time to make a large profit. Even one who does not know how to study Torah should go to the study hall so that he will receive reward for walking there. That's Rabbeinu Yonah. The Rama said that one should establish a fixed place for himself in the study hall so that he can study what he is capable of studying and contemplate his actions, so as to develop the Yirat Shamayim, the fear of heaven.
Boyachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai